The first thing I heard when I woke up was my wife, Isabel, announcing that she had been reborn and was demanding a divorce. She was utterly consumed with guilt, claiming that in her past life she had failed to choose love, which had caused the one who got away to die alone in a foreign country. This time around, she was determined to right all her past wrongs. "I already spent a lifetime with you, Ethan. I don't owe you anything more. Just let me go," she said, her voice laced with a strange mix of desperation and finality. She probably anticipated me begging and pleading, clinging to the tatters of our marriage. But instead, I found myself agreeing with a speed that surprised even me. "When do you want to do it?" I asked calmly. "There's no time like the present. This afternoon works for me." The reason for my swift acceptance was simple. I was reborn, too. If she wanted to run off and make amends with her old flame, then she was welcome to him. I had absolutely no desire to be cheated on for another lifetime, only to have it all culminate in being poisoned to death by my own wife. "Let's get a divorce," I repeated, solidifying the end of our life together. Earlier that morning, my wife Isabel had shaken me from a deep sleep. I was still caught in the fog between dreaming and waking when her words sliced through the quiet of the bedroom, telling me she wanted a divorce. The statement jolted me into full consciousness, and I froze. Turning to look at her as if seeing her for the first time, the scene felt so tangibly real that I knew, with a sinking certainty, it wasn't a dream. I had been reborn. "I've been reborn," Isabel confessed, her voice flat but unable to mask the excited tremor in her eyes. "I only married you to spite my family, but my choice caused Julian to die all alone overseas. The guilt is eating me alive. In our last life, I was with you for decades. I don't owe you anything else. Just let me go." I stared at her, trying to look past the beautiful facade to the corrupted heart that beat within her chest. In my previous life, it had been love at first sight for me. I pursued her with a relentless passion, navigating a difficult courtship that I believed would lead to a heavenly destination. At our wedding, I wept with unadulterated joy, shouting my love for her for all to hear and privately vowing to cherish her for the rest of my days. And I had kept that vow. After we were married, I doted on her, treating her like a priceless treasure I held gently in the palm of my hand. But all the while, she was secretly maintaining contact with her old flame, Julian Vance. They had gone so far as to rent an apartment together, starting a new life behind my back. Under the guise of working long hours, she was living with Julian, rarely returning home before midnight. And I, in my complete and utter ignorance, only felt sympathy for how hard she was working. Every single night, I would prepare dinner and wait for her into the early hours of the morning, always asking tenderly if she was tired when she finally walked through the door. I lived like that, a man being actively cheated on, for 3 whole years. Then one evening, 3 years into our marriage, she came home early and even cooked dinner herself. I was overjoyed, foolishly believing that my 3 years of unwavering devotion had finally won her over. I ate the meal she had prepared with a blissful smile plastered across my face. The food was incredibly bitter, but I didn't say a word, not wanting to crush her confidence since it was the first meal she had ever cooked for me. Who could have possibly guessed that the bitterness was due to the poison she had laced it with? When the poison began to take effect, a sharp, twisting pain erupted in my gut. I naively thought I had just caught a chill. It was only when she spoke that the horrifying truth became clear. "Let's just call it quits for this lifetime," she said casually. "In the next one, I'll be with you again." I was stunned and asked her what she meant. She stood up from the table and produced a half-empty bottle of pesticide. "I poisoned you. It'll only hurt for a little while. Don't blame me. Julian said he doesn't want to live in secret anymore. He wants to marry me." In that singular moment, my entire world came crashing down around me. I gripped the edge of the table, my fingers digging so hard into the wood that it felt like they would splinter. My body ached with a terrifying intensity, but the pain in my heart was infinitely worse. It was only then that I finally realized I had been the victim of her deception for 3 long years, and that the man from my company, Julian, was my wife's true love. I asked her why she had married me if she never loved me. Isabel explained that it was purely out of spite. Her family believed Julian was too poor and had forbidden their relationship, so in a fit of rebellious anger, she chose to marry me instead. A bitter, tearful smile stretched across my face. If you didn't love me, you could have just divorced me. Do you hate me so much that you had to kill me? Her reply was chilling. Julian doesn't want you on this earth. He feels disgusted knowing you were with me for so long. So that was the reason. I coughed, a mouthful of blood splattering across the table. After I died, my soul lingered, unable to move on. I was forced to watch as my wife and Julian dumped my body on a deserted road to stage a car accident. An innocent driver was wrongly accused, while Isabel collected a massive compensation payout. She then used my settlement money to purchase a large house with her lover, where they began their new life together. It wasn't until my parents, sensing that something was terribly wrong, demanded an autopsy that the truth finally came to light. A month after my burial, my body was exhumed, and the autopsy confirmed that I had been poisoned. My wife and Julian were arrested, tried, and ultimately sentenced to death, and now she had been reborn as well. Perhaps because she had been caught once before, this time she didn't dare make such a brazen move against me, opting instead for a clean divorce so she could be with Julian. Well, say something. Don't just stand there. My wife's voice, cold and sharp, cut through my thoughts. She probably assumed that since I was so deeply in love with her, I would refuse to let her go. But in this new life, I had no intention of being made a fool for years before being murdered. I agreed on the spot. When do you want to go? No time like the present. How about this afternoon? My wife was visibly taken aback, but her shock was quickly replaced by a wave of excitement. See you at City Hall this afternoon. Oh, and by the way, I'm keeping the house. I laughed out loud at her audacity. Why would the house go to you? She retorted, her sense of entitlement astounding. I've been with you for 2 lifetimes. Don't I deserve it? 2 lifetimes. She conveniently chose to forget that in our last life, she owed me my very own. A peaceful separation was the absolute most I was willing to concede to her. Forget the house. It's a premarital asset. The law won't award it to you, and neither will I. Isabel's eyes went wide with disbelief. Ethan, didn't you say over and over that you loved me? If you don't give me the house, am I supposed to sleep on the street? I looked at her coolly. Oh. So now you remember that I love you? I loved you for so long, and you still went and cheated on me with your old flame. And you won't be sleeping on the street. You've still got Julian, don't you? I turned away and began to get dressed, conscious that I was going to be late for work. My wife walked over and angrily snatched my jacket from my hands. So you just got to sleep with me for free? I took a deep, calming breath, forcing down the rage that was building inside me. Believe whatever you want. Get your things out of here soon. I'm changing the locks. With that, I walked out the door, leaving her standing in the middle of the room. When I arrived at the office, the first thing I noticed was how old everything looked. The building's exterior and the interior decor all had a distinctly dated feel, a look from a time I thought was long past. I saw a half-finished file on my desk, and with a single glance at the cover, I knew precisely what the completed version contained. I also knew which upcoming projects would generate substantial profit and which would result in losses. It seemed that fate had granted me a second chance, sending me back 3 years into the past. Armed with the memories of my former life, my career was poised for a dramatic ascent. This was good. I could forget that heartless woman. This new life would be dedicated to making money and building a successful career. There were plenty of good women in the world. A man like me wouldn't have any trouble finding a wife. I dove into my work, immediately filtering through the potential projects to identify the most valuable ones. In just half a day, I accomplished what would have taken me half a month to complete in my previous life. Just as I was about to submit my work, I saw him. Julian Vance. The man who had destroyed my family, who had conspired with Isabel to murder me. The man I hated to my very core. He worked in Division 1, while I was in Division 2. Our departments were on different floors, so our paths rarely crossed. Yet in my past life, I always seemed to run into him. I hadn't thought much of it at the time, but I later realized he had been doing it on purpose, just to secretly gloat and watch me squirm in my ignorance. "Hey, Ethan, I heard you got married?" he said, his voice feigning friendliness. "Yeah, about 6 months ago," I replied. "Man, why didn't you say anything? We missed out on your wedding feast. Here," he continued, pulling out a $10 bill. "I didn't get to drink your wine, but I can't skip the gift. Take this." A colleague standing nearby rolled their eyes. "Wedding gifts are supposed to be big bills. Why'd you give him a 10? And that's so little." Julian just shrugged. "What can I say? I'm broke. I was seeing this girl, slept with her for 2 years. But when it came time to talk marriage, her family said I was too poor and wouldn't approve." Another colleague chimed in. "What was her name? Tell us so we can all steer clear." Julian waved his hand with a flippant look on his face. "Let's not get into names. That's all in the past. Besides, I was just messing around. If she'd actually agreed to marry me, my head would have exploded." He finished, then turned to me with a suggestive look. "How are things with you and your wife? Any regrets after getting married?" Another colleague interjected. "Julian, what are you talking about? The guy just got married." "Hey, just making conversation," Julian said defensively. "I've got a fear of commitment, just trying to understand it." I glanced at him, a slight, knowing smirk on my lips, and walked away without another word. When I reached the director's office, I immediately noticed the project proposal that had been submitted by Division 1. The planner, of course, was Julian Vance. I spoke to my director, Mr. Davies. Bluntly. "Sir, we can't invest in this project. It's going to lose money." Mr. Davies picked up the project file. "You've seen it?" "I haven't seen the file, but I've researched the product," I explained. "It's one that our division already passed on." I deliberately framed my objection as a departmental decision rather than a personal one. This approach prevented me from making enemies with everyone in Division 1, and I knew that if I wanted to get promoted, I would need my director's support. This was just the right amount of strategic push. After hearing me out, Mr. Davies set Julian's project aside, probably intending to investigate it further on his own. He then took my proposal and nodded with satisfaction. "Did you do this all by yourself?" "You assigned it, sir. I did the research and the write-up on my own." "Good, nicely done. You can go back to your desk now." After leaving his office, I received a text from Isabel. "I talked to a lawyer. The timing of your home purchase was right around our wedding, so it can't be considered a premarital asset. How about this? You keep the house, and you pay me $500,000. I laughed. What kind of fraudulent lawyer had she managed to find? I didn't reply. We would settle everything that afternoon. "Ethan, I think you forgot something," Julian said, walking over with a smirk on his face, pretending to joke. I asked him what he meant. "I gave you a wedding gift," he said. "You're not going to buy me a drink? The least you could do is treat me to a bowl of noodles. Oh, and bring your wife along. That would be more sincere. I knew exactly what game he was playing. At this point in the timeline, my wife hadn't cheated on me yet. The two of them hadn't even reconnected. The current situation was like a cracked egg, and this fly was buzzing around, desperately looking for a way inside. Fine, I thought. I'd give them a little push. Wedding gift? I never accepted it. Besides, I'm about to get divorced. Julian was stunned into silence. Divorced? I ignored his shocked expression and walked away. Even with my back turned to him, I could feel the palpable delight radiating from him. That afternoon, I arrived at City Hall as we had planned. It was clear my wife couldn't wait to be free of me. The moment she saw me, she began to complain. They open at 2 o'clock. It's already 2:10. What took you so long? This is a divorce. You couldn't be on time for something this important? I took out my ID and household registration, walking ahead of her without a word. After we had finished all the paperwork and walked out of the building, she suddenly turned to me and asked, "Are you seeing another woman?" "I'm not capable of something like that," I answered honestly. "If you think I agreed to this divorce so quickly because I was cheating, you're mistaken." "Whatever. Do what you want. Thanks for giving me my freedom." With that, Isabel held out her hand, expecting a final handshake. I didn't take it. I turned, hailed a cab, and got inside. Seeing me leave so abruptly, she quickly added, "You need to deal with the house issue soon. $500,000. I'm not asking for much." "Driver, let's go," I said, ignoring her completely as the car pulled away from the curb. When I got home, I packed all of Isabel's belongings into a single suitcase and arranged for a courier service to take them away. Then, I changed the locks. With every trace of her gone from the house, an immense sense of peace washed over me. The next day, the project department was in an uproar. Mr. Davies publicly praised Division 2 for its diligence while harshly criticizing Division 1. The primary reason was the flawed project file I had flagged the day before. The file was riddled with major problems. If the company had rashly invested, it would have lost at least hundreds of thousands of dollars. As soon as I got to the office, my director called me in. He asked me what had happened yesterday, trying to understand how I had known. I just smiled. "Weren't those your instructions, sir?" Mr. Davies paused for a moment, then smiled with deep satisfaction. "Ethan, I think you're a perfect fit for the supervisor position. Starting today, you, Ethan Evans, are the new supervisor of Project Division 2. I quickly bowed my head in thanks. Everything was proceeding exactly according to my plan. At lunch in the cafeteria, Julian walked over, his face grim. He slammed his tray down on my table. "Was it you?" I calmly put down my chopsticks. "What are you talking about?" "Still playing dumb? You were the only one who went to the director's office yesterday. Right after you came back, you were promoted to supervisor. Who else could it have been?" "The credit goes to my director," I replied smoothly. "I can't take responsibility for such a huge honor." By shifting the credit to Mr. Davies, I effectively shut Julian up. "Ethan Evans, you're good," he seethed. "Just you wait." Julian was not a good person. I had learned the full extent of his malice in my past life. I knew I had to be on my guard. I had just gotten home that evening when Mr. Davies called, his voice furious. "Ethan, that project you submitted to the manager yesterday. The other party took the money and ran. What kind of work is this?" I couldn't believe it. How was that possible? In my last life, this project had gone off without a single hitch. "Director, I'll look into it right away," I stammered. "You'd better handle this, and fast. The general manager is about to lose his mind. The company has been investing in projects for over a decade and has never encountered anything like this. If you can't fix this, don't blame me for turning on you." After he hung up, I rushed back to the company. On my way in, I ran into Julian, who was on his way out. This was a man who always left right on time. For him to still be at the office so late. A thought struck me. I remembered his threat at lunch. It had to be him. Well, if it isn't Supervisor Evans. Working late tonight? Julian's tone was dripping with sarcasm. I walked up to him and issued a warning. Be careful you don't play yourself into an early grave. Ha 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 ha. What are you talking about? I don't understand. He feigned innocence. You make it sound like I'm the one who ran into a scammer. Ethan. You really had to stir things up, didn't you? Stepping on Division 1 to climb the ladder. And look what happened. You got what was coming to you. This was your own oversight. How can you blame anyone else? Don't give me that crap. I'm telling you, you're finished. This project has gone all the way up to the chairman. Let's see how long you last. Oh, right, I forgot to tell you. You've set a new record for the company. The first scammer in over 10 years of business, all thanks to you. Huh. All right, I'm done chatting. My girl is here to pick me up. Julian tugged at his collar, a smug look on his face as he waved toward the street. In the distance, Isabel was riding over on a bike-share bike, thoughtfully carrying an extra helmet for him. When she saw me, her eyes darted away nervously. Supervisor Evans, do you know her? This is my ex-girlfriend, Julian announced loudly. I heard you cried like a baby at your wedding, like you'd won the lottery or something. Ha ha ha. All right, Julian, that's enough. Let's go, Isabel said, clearly embarrassed, trying to hurry him away. Julian's face hardened. What? You don't like me showing you off? Are you still thinking of him as your man? No, we're already divorced. Then what's the problem? Since all the relevant parties are here today, let's have a nice chat about the house. Julian took out his phone and opened the calculator. Based on the property value, we'll split it. Isabel, you should ask him for $600,000. Isabel hesitated. I already talked to him about it. He's paying $500,000. I said ask for $600,000. Julian glared at her. Isabel didn't dare argue. She gave me an apologetic smile. Let's make it $600,000. You two can keep dreaming, I said, my patience worn thin. I was in a hurry to deal with the project crisis and didn't have time for their wishful thinking. Hearing this, Julian grabbed me and punched me squarely in the face. Ethan Evans, you son of a bitch. You screwed me over with that project today. I called your wife over just to rub it in your face. And not only do you not care, you're this arrogant. I'll kill you. I had nowhere to vent my own white-hot anger, so I immediately started fighting back. Isabel tried to break us up, but she only got in my way, causing me to take several more punches. Wiping the blood from the corner of my mouth, I nodded coldly. Nice work. Isabel lowered her head, actually having the decency to look guilty. Julian sneered. You'd better start raising the money. If you don't pay up, I'll sue you. Go ahead. Do whatever you want, I replied, clenching my jaw as I walked away. After what happened today, I swore to myself that if they ever let me get my hands on some leverage, I would make sure their end was as ugly as possible. Back at the office, I quickly opened my computer to check the original electronic files. I found the other party's contact information and called them immediately. Fortunately, someone answered. I quickly explained the situation and asked what was going on. They were completely baffled, saying they had never been notified about signing a contract. I told them that was impossible, as representatives from both parties needed to be present to sign a contract and process the payment. It became clear that the person who had signed the contract must have been an imposter. But how could an imposter get their hands on our company's official credentials and all the necessary documents? Hearing my doubts, the person on the other end of the line told me to check the payment records immediately. I risked getting chewed out again and called my director, Mr. Davies. He sent me the payment receipt, which I forwarded to the other company. The result was like a bolt from the blue. The recipient of the funds had vanished. Not only had they scammed our company out of millions, but they had also taken a significant amount of money from the other company, who had already reported the incident to the police. Even worse, the perpetrator had likely already fled the country. I sat there in a daze, the weight of the situation crushing me. Here I was, gifted a second chance at life, and my promising future was about to be destroyed before it even began. I didn't sleep a wink that night. After filing a report at the police station, sleep was impossible. But as the saying goes, when it rains, it pours. The next day, the chairman himself came to the company. At the same time, I received more bad news. I was suspended from my duties and placed under investigation. As I was dejectedly packing my personal belongings and waiting for the elevator, a cheerful-looking Julian walked over. "Ethan, that supervisor job was a real revolving door, huh? Lasted a whole day before you were out?" I looked at him coldly. "Don't get too cocky. Once the investigation is over, you're going to pay." "Ha ha ha. You're like a mad dog trying to bite everyone you see." Then he leaned in close and whispered, "I don't mind telling you, it was my idea to have you suspended and investigated. A person like you belongs in the gutter. I'm not just going to sleep with your woman. I'm going to make sure you can never hold your head up high again. As long as I, Julian Vance, am around, you'll never have a good day in your life. This is what you get for challenging me. Don't like it? Hit me." Ha 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 ha. Julian walked away, oozing an unbearable arrogance. I suppressed the fury that was rising within me like bile. It was fine. If I couldn't catch that scammer, I would just hold on tight to the dirt I had on him. When I got home, the police were already there, waiting for me. They asked me a lot of questions about the project. I knew all the details by heart, and even showed them the original electronic files on my computer to prove my innocence. The phone number and the corporate account in the original electronic version were both correct. For something like this to have happened, someone must have maliciously altered the other party's payment information before the final signing. I suggested the police conduct a technical analysis of the file to determine the last time it had been edited and printed. If the timestamp matched the time I handed the file to the general manager, my name would be cleared. After the police left, I immediately went back to my company and found the head of security, asking for his help in reviewing the surveillance footage. I wanted to see if anyone had entered the manager's office that night. The security chief and I were usually on good terms, but in my current situation, even former allies were turning against me. He snorted. "Give me a break. You're a suspect. You think I can let you see the security footage? If anyone's going to check it, it'll be the police." It was a bitter pill to swallow, but I understood his position. Now all I could do was wait for news from the police. But the truth was, the police didn't find any significant leads. The surveillance footage showed that after I submitted the project proposal, no one else entered the manager's office. The suspicion against me only deepened. And right at that moment, Isabel showed up again, demanding I give her the $600,000. I was so fed up that I just told her to go ahead and sue me. I didn't have a penny to my name anyway. The days I spent at home felt like years. Without a job, without any chance to prove my innocence, my second life felt like a complete and utter waste. Fortunately, on the 10th day, there was a breakthrough. A police officer called to tell me that the results of the technical analysis were in, and they confirmed the file had not been modified after I saved it. The timestamps also matched the surveillance footage. I was ecstatic and immediately called my director, only to find that he had blocked my number. Even the general manager had blocked me. Desperate to make a living and clear my name, I swallowed my pride and called the chairman directly. "Mr. Chairman, hello. This is Ethan Evans. First, I want to apologize for the company being defrauded, but I truly did not do it. The technical analysis results are out, and I didn't make any changes to the file. Could you please give me another chance? I will find the culprit. I'll bring the person responsible to justice." The person on the other end of the line was silent for a moment. and then a woman's voice came through. "Ethan Evans, do you remember me?" Hearing her voice, I paused. I had seen the chairman before, and he definitely wasn't a woman. "I'm sorry, who is this?" "You really don't remember. It's Clara Hayes." Clara Hayes, my high school classmate. Back in school, she was a total tomboy, always hanging out with the guys and even sporting short hair. I remembered a time we snuck into an apple orchard outside of school to steal apples together. When we got caught and our parents were called, Clara's parents never showed up. It was my mom and dad who had to bail her out. Back then, she always used to call me Big Brother Ethan. "Hey, Clara, is that you? Wait, why do you have our chairman's phone?" "He's my dad." "Your dad?" "Never mind me. I heard your project set a new record for our family's company." "It really wasn't me," I blurted out. "Ha ha ha ha, just messing with you," she laughed. "I know it wasn't you. Where are you? I'll come find you." I quickly sent her my location, and we agreed to meet at a coffee shop near the office. I hadn't seen her in years, and I almost didn't recognize her. Her short, boyish hair was now long and flowed over her shoulders, and her usual shorts had been replaced by a long, white dress. But the way she walked, that was still the same. So carefree, her arms swinging with an almost boyish air. After we sat down, I felt a little awkward. "I'm a bit tight on cash, so we'll just have to make do with this place." "Ha ha ha, you're still the same smartass." "You haven't changed a bit," she said, her eyes sparkling. "My dad told me some guy named Ethan Evans conspired with a scammer to defraud the company. I was stunned. I immediately pulled up your file, and sure enough, it was you. I thought to myself, you were a nervous wreck just stealing an apple. How could you possibly pull off something like that?" "It's a long story," I said. "I'm afraid I was set up." I told her the whole story from beginning to end. Clara listened intently, her chin resting in her hand, nodding when I finished. "Don't worry," she said finally. "Even if no one else believes you, I do." "Really? Then, could you maybe talk to the chairman and let me go back to work? Otherwise, I won't even be able to afford food." "Of course, I said I believe you, so why wouldn't he? Hold on, I'll call him right now." Clara took out her phone and made the call right there. "Dad, Ethan Evans is my classmate. I know him. He's not the kind of person to do something like that. In high school, when we were stealing apples, he was so scared, but he still stood behind me to block the farmer. Besides, after the apple incident, it was his mom who bailed me out. You were too embarrassed to even show your face. You still owe them. I don't care. Reinstate him to his original position. As for his salary, I'll set it after he's cleared his name. At worst, you can just cut my allowance. Great, that's it." Hanging up, Clara grinned, looking pleased with herself. "Done." I was overcome with gratitude. "Thank you so much, Clara. Without you, I wouldn't even know where to start with the investigation." "Don't mention it," she said with a wave of her hand. "We're buddies." The next day, I returned to the company. Many people looked at me with open surprise. When I got to Division 2, many of my colleagues were openly sarcastic. "What the hell? How is he back at work? This has to be a mistake. He must be here to pack his things and get out." "Ha! If he's really back, I'll eat my hat. He brought so much shame on our division, and he still has the nerve to show his face." I kept my mouth shut, not offering any explanation, and quietly sat down at my desk. Just then, the director, Mr. Davies, walked over. "Supervisor Evans, come in for a moment." My colleagues' jaws dropped in unison. Supervisor Evans? He was still the supervisor? The director glared at them. "All of you, shut up. Can't you do anything to promote unity? The technical analysis already cleared Supervisor Evans. What are you all blabbering about? Let me tell you, the supervisor of Project Division 2 is named Evans, and that's final." My colleagues fell silent. In the office, the director, in a complete reversal of his previous behavior, poured me a cup of tea. Supervisor Evans? Which executive did you get in touch with? Director, let's not talk about that, I said, deflecting. I just want to do my job and get to the bottom of this. Good, very good. You have connections, but you don't abuse them. You're a young man with a bright future. I didn't continue the small talk. I asked for a short leave of absence and went to the security monitoring room. In the monitoring room, Clara was also there. Just as I was about to greet her, the security chief stormed over and shoved me away. What are you doing here? You're a suspect. Don't you dare come near the monitoring room. I'm here to look at the footage, and I've already been cleared of suspicion. Cleared of suspicion? You've got to be kidding me. You look like a shifty-eyed crook. Get out! As the security chief pushed me, Clara walked out, her face furious. Let him go! The security chief immediately bowed his head. Miss Hayes, It's Miss Hayes, Miss Hayes. He's the one who caused our company to lose so much money. What? Are you Judge Judy now? The police have already said he's in the clear, and you're saying he's guilty? When did the police say he was cleared? I didn't know. Who do you think you are, God himself? Does the company have to report everything to you first? I'm curious. He's a department supervisor. Since when does he have to answer to the head of security? Wasn't he fired? I reinstated him. You got a problem with that? The security chief was stunned. Miss Hayes, you... Get out of the way. Clara pushed him aside and took my hand, leading me into the monitoring room. The security chief stood frozen in place for a long time. Clara turned and glared at him. What are you looking at? Close the door. Yes, of course, right away. He put on a fawning smile and quickly closed the door to the monitoring room. Even then, she was still holding my hand tightly. I glanced down at our clasped hands, and she just rolled her eyes at me. What, not used to it anymore? After letting go, Clara pointed to a frame on the monitor. The problem should be here. In the footage, the general manager, Mr. Sterling, was leaving his office with my project proposal. At this point, there were still 3 hours before the two companies were scammed. There's a 3-hour gap here, Clara noted. If someone did something, it was during this time. Of course, we can't rule out the possibility that the manager orchestrated this himself. It probably wasn't him, I said, dismissing the idea. Clara looked at me, a smile playing on her lips. But he was the one who wanted to fire you. Are you really that forgiving? I shook my head, not explaining further. I was sure it wasn't him because of what I knew about him from my past life. Mr. Sterling was an upright man, completely dedicated to the company. Crucially, he had no private dealings with Division 1. I stroked my chin, thinking. We should ask him if the file ever left his sight during that time, but it's not really appropriate for me, a subordinate, to investigate him. If it's not convenient for you, then I'll do it, Clara declared. She took me straight to the general manager's office. On the way, I deliberately kept my distance from her, afraid of damaging her reputation. But just then, we ran into Julian. He was shocked to see me. Ethan, you're still not dead? You're one tough bastard. I'll outlive you 8 times over, Julian. Let's see who gets the last laugh. I tried to walk away, but Julian grabbed me, refusing to let me go. You son of a bitch. A suspect like you still has the nerve to be so arrogant. Who let you come back to work? Is that any of your business? It's not my business. Whoever let you back, I'll make their life hell. Julian called someone right in front of me. Hello, Mr. Lowe. That scammer Ethan from Division 2 is back at work. You should report it immediately. Aren't they just courting disaster over there? What is their director thinking? I suggest you file a complaint against him. You're coming over now? Great. I'll wait for you here, right by the staircase to Division 2. After hanging up, Julian looked at me smugly. Well, Ethan, you're really in for it now. I sneered. Julian, I'm warning you, don't go looking for trouble. As I spoke, I glanced at Clara, who was watching the entire show unfold. I had connections now, after all, but Julian was as arrogant as ever. I am looking for trouble. If you're comfortable, then I'm not. About 2 minutes later, the manager of Division 1, Mr. Lowe, arrived. He gave me a dirty look as soon as he saw me. "Who let you come back to work?" My expression didn't change. "Since when does the manager of Division 1 have a say in the affairs of Division 2? "Is that how you talk to a superior?" Mr. Lowe was furious. It was obvious he was still angry about me reporting his department's project, but either way, I didn't need to give him any face. He wasn't my boss. "Get out of this company right now." "Is that your call to make?" "It is. Get out now." "Mr. Lowe, you've got quite the ego," Clara said, walking over with a frown. Mr. Lowe flinched. "Miss Hayes, what are you doing here?" "Do I need to inform you of my whereabouts?" she retorted. "What is wrong with you people? The security guards are full of themselves, and the managers don't act like managers. Do you even want this job anymore?" "Miss Hayes, Save it. All of you, listen up. Ethan Evans is my classmate. If anyone gives him trouble again, I'll have them fired." Brandon and Mr. Lowe trembled at her words, their faces turning pale as they quickly nodded. Clara glared at them, then turned to me. "Ethan, let's go." In the general manager's office, Clara was blunt. She told him to write up a detailed report of his entire itinerary from that day and submit it to her. Then she left with me, completely ignoring the look of utter terror on the manager's face when he saw me standing there. That evening, Clara treated me to dinner. During the meal, she asked, "You're divorced?" "Yeah, I'm divorced." "Why?" "Because, well, how do I put this?" I gave her a brief, toned-down version of my experience from my past life. Clara's eyes widened as she stared at me. "Reborn? Isn't that a little far-fetched?" "I know, not many people would believe it." "Why wouldn't I? I was reborn too," Clara muttered under her breath. Now it was my turn to be shocked. "What did you say?" "In my last life, my family forced me into an arranged marriage. My life was a mess, so I jumped into a river. After I died, I found myself back here." "No way!" My voice rose in disbelief. "Look at you! You were reborn too. Why are you so surprised?" I quickly took a sip of my drink to calm my nerves. It really was too much to process. What was going on? Was being reborn this easy now? "Ethan, you have to help me," Clara said, a mischievous glint in her eyes. "Otherwise, they're definitely going to force me into another arranged marriage." I swallowed hard. You don't mean—" "Mm-hmm," Clara nodded vigorously. "It's exactly what you're thinking." Ahem. I looked down, trying to suppress a smile that was harder to control than a runaway train. Clara was simple-hearted and genuine. I had always enjoyed spending time with her in high school. She was beautiful, and she was rich. For me, this was like a pie falling from the sky. Why would I be coy? I was all in. "What are you smiling about?" Clara couldn't help but laugh, too. I shook my head. "Nothing. Just feels like I hit the jackpot." Clara burst out laughing. "You sly dog. You're meeting my dad tomorrow." I quickly shook my head. "No, we have to finish this investigation first. Otherwise, how could I face him?" "That's true. You're always thinking ahead, so cunning." After dinner, I took Clara home. When I got back to my own place, I found Isabel standing at my door. "What are you doing back here?" When she turned around, I saw that her face was bruised and swollen. She had clearly been beaten. "Ethan, can we get back together? Julian is a monster. He hit me," Isabel cried, and tried to rush into my arms, but I pushed her away. "You made your choice. Forget about getting back together." I moved past her to unlock my door, but she desperately tried to follow me inside. "Ethan, you love me more than anyone. You can't just leave me like this." "Ha! When I'm ruthless, even I scare myself." I shoved her out and slammed the door shut. Isabel probably still hadn't figured it out. It wasn't just her who was reborn. I was too. I remembered every single thing she did to me in our last life. Even if she hadn't been the one to ask for a divorce this time, I would have left her. Isabel cried outside my door for a long time, but I didn't pay her any mind. The next day, Mr. Sterling handed me his written statement, his attitude now completely deferential. My other colleagues saw this and looked on in disbelief. I paid them no mind and focused on the investigation. The report stated that on his way to sign the contract, he had stopped at a restaurant for lunch. Someone had called him to discuss business, so he had left his seat for a moment. I immediately went to that restaurant and checked their security footage. I never expected to see Julian in the video. He furtively took the file from the manager's briefcase and, after a short while, quietly put it back. I immediately called the police to have him arrested, but unexpectedly, Julian had already gotten word and had fled. Fortunately, he hadn't gotten far. He was caught at the train station. In this day and age, did he really think he could get away with breaking the law? After his arrest, faced with irrefutable evidence, he broke down after just half a day and confessed everything. He was an accomplice to the scammer and had received a kickback of several $100,000. The main scammer had already fled the country, but the police immediately used Julian to lure him out. With the cooperation of international police, they successfully apprehended the scammer and extradited him back to the country. The company's funds were also recovered. The fraud case was finally closed. Awaiting Julian was the full, severe punishment of the law. After my name was completely cleared, Clara dragged me to her house. The chairman's glare was so sharp he couldn't hide his disapproval. But Clara insisted that she would rather die than not be with me. She listed all my good qualities, including my unique business acumen, saying I had a great future ahead of me. She even brought up the time my mom bailed her out after the apple stealing incident, using it to guilt-trip her father. She pleaded and cajoled him relentlessly. On top of that, my performance at work was consistently outstanding. The chairman had no choice but to pinch his nose and agree. Clara and I were officially together. Everyone in the company was green with envy. They looked at me like I had just won the lottery. Well, I did win an even bigger prize. Clara and I started preparing for our wedding. A few days before the big day, a disheveled Isabel showed up at my door again, making one last, desperate attempt. "Ethan, I was wrong. I was so wrong. I never should have divorced you. Julian is a bastard. You're the one who truly loves me. I'm begging you, can we get back together? I can't live without you." Looking at her pathetic state, I sneered. "Isabel, do you really think you're the only one who was reborn? You cheated on me, you poisoned me, and you dragged my body onto the street to fake a car accident and collect the insurance money. How do you still have the face to come find me? You deserved to be sentenced to death and end your wicked life." Isabel was dumbfounded, her face a mask of horror. I continued, my voice cold. "In this new life, you chose to divorce me and be with Julian. I let you. Now that you've ended up like this, you have to live with it because you made your own choices. I'm getting married soon. Don't bother me again." I shut the door on her one final time. 3 days later, Clara and I had a grand wedding in the city. Holding Clara's hand, we looked deeply into each other's eyes and completed our wedding ceremony with the blessings of our many friends and family. Isabel had also snuck into the venue, watching me from the back with tears streaming down her face. I didn't even give her a second glance. If I hadn't been worried about disturbing the other guests, I would have had security throw her out immediately. After the ceremony was over, that's exactly what I did. After that day, I never saw her again. It wasn't until 6 months later that I heard she had died. They said she had drowned herself in a river. When I heard the news, I felt nothing. My past life was long gone, a nightmare I had finally awoken from. My real life was just beginning.